TransCanada and Enbridge are building more in the United States as their headquarters move south after the Prime Minister broke his promise to build, baby, build. Doesn't the Prime Minister realize that when he doesn't do his job, Canadians lose theirs?
Mark Carney comes back into the House of Commons thinking that he's going to be able to take on Pierre Poilievre with a bunch of recycled slogans that he took from Justin Trudeau. Didn't work out well for Mark Carney. Welcome back to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. In this episode of House of Combat, we got Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney going toe-to-toe. Before we get into it, I want to encourage all of you to double-check that you are still subscribed and that you are still getting the notifications. I'm getting indications in my comments that people are being unsubscribed. All right, let's get into this.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After the Prime Minister broke his promise to, quote, negotiate a win with the Americans by July 21st, lumber tariffs have more than doubled, and job losses are piling up. Cap Paper is potentially laying off 300 workers in Northern Ontario. That's on top of 800 workers who are losing their jobs at Imperial Oil. TransCanada and Enbridge are building more in the United States as their headquarters move south after the Prime Minister broke his promise to build, baby, build. Doesn't the Prime Minister realize that when he doesn't do his job, Canadians lose theirs?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our sympathies are with the families of the workers at Imperial Oil.
Sympathies. Buddy, get out of the way.
Our actions are with the workers and the management of Cap Paper, who are having meetings with the Minister of Industry, a variety of other government officials today to work. Our support...
Oh, well, I mean, obviously, a meeting is going to fix it.
...is four square behind Algoma Steel, with $400 million between the federal government and the province of Ontario to build Canada strong.
I'm sorry, Algoma Steel doesn't need you to build Canada strong. Algoma Steel needs somebody to buy their steel. That's what we need. We need the projects for that steel. This guy.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Since he took office, 86,000 more Canadians are unemployed. We have the second highest unemployment in the G7. This is all the result of out-of-control government spending and taxes. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. And now the Parliamentary Budget Officer rates his deficit, says, quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done. Something is going to break. We are at the edge of a cliff. Those are the words of the Parliamentary Budget Officer. When will he stop his out-of-control spending? When he's over the edge of the cliff?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there's a little thing called cause and effect. And the cause that the Leader of the Opposition is missing is the U.S. tariffs. The U.S. tariffs that are hitting steel, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting lumber, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting our auto sector. That's why we need to build this country strong. That's why we're getting spending under control. That's why we're going to spend less to invest more. I believe in this country, Mr. Speaker. Come join us.
The Honourable Leader.
I believe in this country, Mr. Speaker. Come join us. This is exactly the tactic that they were trying when it was Justin Trudeau, that somehow because the Conservatives don't agree with the spending policies of the Liberal government, which after 11 years, any person, any school kid can understand are just not working out. But now it's all about this another tactic that the Conservatives are just being mean to us. People are losing jobs. You promised results. There has been no results. And the jobs are still flying out of this country. And no sloganeering and a little bit of drama with your finger under your chin is going to change that. Action, not words.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Spend less? Deficit spending is up almost 100% since this Prime Minister took office. And as for investment, it has fallen. In fact, $50 billion of net investment has left since he took office. And yet he repeats the same promises the Liberals have been making for a decade. They said their deficits would lead to more investment. Since they took office, investment is down by 10%, the worst investment record in the G7. In fact, with $600 billion more debt under this government, investment has fallen. How much more debt would they have to add on the backs of Canadians to reverse this disastrous result?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, it's time for a little fiscal lesson for the Leader of the Opposition. Strongest credit rating in the world, AAA, S&P, and Moody's. Lowest deficit in the G7. Lowest debt level in the G7. Lowest debt net debt to GDP in the G7. Biggest potential in the G7. This side of the House believes in Canada. Come join us.
Oh, here we go again. See what I mean? That makes me sick. I just can't stand it when I hear these guys talk like it's a whole big, like it's a whole bunch of school kids standing around at the pep rally going, root for our school, root for our school. People are losing jobs, but people's relationships are being torn to shreds while you're sitting in the House of Commons putting out slogans. And I know the economics. We do not have the best GDP to debt ratio. In fact, our GDP to debt ratio is so bad that if we were to take every penny in Canada and give it to the debt, it would not be enough to cover the debt. We would still owe money. And you want me to believe that in the G7, the United States or Japan or Italy, all of these economies are booming, but somehow what he just said there is simply not true. But this whole come join us, you take ideas from Pierre Poilievre all the time, so why don't you go join them?
The Right Honourable, the Leader of the...
The Right Honourable. Yeah, the Right Honourable. The Right Honourable is a title only reserved for the Prime Minister. That's awesome.
The Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I know that sometimes it gets heated in this place, and recently, I said that this Prime Minister was just as irresponsible with money as Justin Trudeau, and I now realize that that was unfair to Justin Trudeau. In reality, he has increased the deficit by almost 70% above what Justin Trudeau left behind. And now the Parliamentary Budget Officer describes this Prime Minister's deficits as alarming, stupefying, unstable, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done, and something is going to break. How is it even possible for this Prime Minister to be more fiscally incompetent than the drama teacher?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
But he believes you. I can't imagine, Mr. Speaker, I can't imagine why it gets heated in the House with language like that.
Yeah.
Oh, did somebody hurt your feelings? Oh. Language like what, bud? All he said was that you are a worse spender than Justin Trudeau, whose only other job was as a drama teacher. So what language exactly? The truth? Is it the truth that hurt your feelings, Mr. Carney? What this country does not need is weak leadership.
Exactly.
The former Prime Minister. This government is conducting a comprehensive spending review. This government is building houses. This government is building projects in the national interest. This government is building Canada strong. Come join us.
Again with this come join us crap. Get something done, Carney, or get out of the way. Slogans. Just wait. We're going to work on it. We're going to do it. Come on, man. We've been hearing it for long enough. Quit insulting our intelligence. Get out of the way.
Well done.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised the Canadians would be able to judge him by their experience at the grocery store. Well, that experience is what is now being called struggle meals, where Canadians are now sharing tips on how they can scrounge together meals that are often of lower nutritional value because that's all they can afford. Food price inflation has accelerated to almost double the Bank of Canada's target, rising 50% faster in Canada than in the United States since this Prime Minister took office, promising the reverse. Will he finally axe the Liberal taxes on groceries so that Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président, il n'y a pas...
Mr. Speaker, there is no GST on groceries.
Number two, we cut the carbon tax. There's no carbon tax. There's no carbon tax on farms. There's no carbon tax on grocery stores. There is no carbon tax. No, there's not. On anything under 50 kilotons. Monsieur le Président, but we see the big picture. We know that real wages have been growing every single month since I became Prime Minister.
Well done.
Look at the smile on his face because he knows he got caught in a lie. That's a straight up lie. All of it, 1 minute, it's like there's no taxes on any farmers. Unfortunately for you, bud, every guy on the other side of the aisle represents at least one or two farmers, so they hear about it. If there's one thing that conservative MPs hear about, it's from people that are working in farming and agriculture and all the rest of that. So he knew that. Of course, he had to change his tune. He had to switch it up to under 50 because he knew that if he didn't do that, he was going to be caught in a lie and then called out on censure, which is a serious, well, not a serious thing, but it's something that they can use against him. They can show that his reputation is tarnished. Of course, by the way, just doing it is enough to tarnish his reputation with my book. Like, if you can't tell the truth, if you need to manipulate and spin your words and put on all this spin doctor, you're not the leader that is going to solve this problem. That's exactly the problem that got us in. That attitude is exactly what got us into this mess in the first place. This desire to try to spin things and flip things and make it look like it's something other than it's not. There's an industrial carbon tax on the farmers, and that's costing us food. Unless anybody out there thinks that we're in some sort of like 1930s farming co-op, and all of a sudden the small farms are the ones that are supplying the major corporation, the major monopolies in this country. Of course they are not. The small farmer might be doing something in his region, but he's not the one guy that's supplying IGA or supplying Sobeys or supplying whoever. Those are done on massive farms. And of course, every time somebody, by now, people have learned they can just add a little bit to it here and there and make a little money for themselves, all at the expense of the Canadian taxpayer, all at the expense of the Canadian. Mark Carney doesn't have to worry about these things. He jet sets around the world telling you to do without a car. He flies his private jet 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week and tells you that you're not allowed to have a car. He wants you to do it on rollerblades. Lying to the House of Commons only says one thing, that you are not in a position to tell the truth. And if you're not in a position to tell the truth, that means what you're being accused of must be true. What's being said against you must be true. I mean, we've all lived our lives. We know exactly what Pierre Poilievre said, and we know exactly how Mark Carney couldn't answer him with anything other than a half-truth at the very best, a splitting of a hair at the very best, hoping full well that his soundbite that goes out on the TikTok or something won't lose him a little bit of support from people who simply do not understand that their food comes from a farmer. And if they want to pay less for bread, if they want to pay less for milk, if they want to pay less for meat, if they want to pay less for vegetables, they have to remove all the taxes off the food. If they want to pay less for Kansas soup, jam, whatever it is, if it's in the store, if you want to pay less for it, you have to remove the taxes that are put onto it. Hopefully, we can get the Liberals to understand that the Liberal voter or the NDP voter who now have somebody to support with this, leadership run that they got going on. Maybe that will be enough to take some seats away from the Liberal government. We can get out of this nightmare that the far left drags the Canadian country into over some ridiculous thing called carbon. Anyway, I suppose that's a different video. Now, you may have noticed that I'll get a little bit fired up in this. And I get a little fired up when I watch the House of Commons, mostly because I can tell when they're not telling the truth or when they're stretching the truth or when they're trying to split a hair. And I just don't think that it's an appropriate, I just don't think that you have to be anything other than honest. If you cannot stand up and say, listen, everything we did is destroying the country and I resign, then you're not a leader. You're corrupt, you're manipulative, you're a whole bunch of things, but not leader. Leaders, they lead from the front and they do what's best for the people that are following them. A good example of that would be, well, there's a bunch of good examples of that in this world, just not currently in the Liberal bench. That's just my opinion. You can leave me your opinion down in the comments. I'm going to wrap here. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.